Good morning. My name is Orly Cormier, and welcome to the Intentional Wellness Parenting Show, where we set an intention to create healing and wellness every living day. Let me ask you, have you felt sometimes that life is just hard? Wonder if I told you that our life is actually meant for joy, fun, and good health. Of course, it doesn't just happen, but the first step to getting there is to believe that good health is possible and to envision what you would love. From there, we can choose the simple health habits that give our minds, bodies, and spirits the nourishment it needs to work well. Over 2 million people in the U.S. will be diagnosed with cancer this year. Between 600,000 and 1 million are preventable. Our genes are not our destiny, yet our epigenetics can be affected by environmental factors. Therefore, the best time to make a difference is now. So let's dive right in.
I'm Dr. Pat, and I got to tell you, we got a great episode. I get to take this journey with the most incredible, you heard, Orly. On a previous show today that I've done, I talked about youth, kids. We talked about youth, and we talked about the challenges of today. And one of the things I said was, if I were a young person in today's world, I would be in trouble. I know that there would be some stuff that I would never be able to walk back. So today, what Orly is doing is what she does so well. She takes a conversation that is so seriously important ahead of the time that it is important. So today, it's parenting mentally strong kids in the age of AI and social media. And Orly, I am really happy you put them together. And I was on a show with Dr. Mickey, and I commented that one of the job openings asked a question of one of their candidates: how are you going to tell the difference between real news and AI news? And it was fascinating. The answer was, what? So we're living in a world where we have to navigate. Now, as adults, it's complicated. I can't imagine what it takes to build strong kids. So help us out with that.
Yeah, I thought that this would be a really helpful topic because we're in a world, as you said, today is the day that is the start of the fire horse energy. And in the Chinese calendar, it's like a 60-year period. And this is the year that's going to be the most intense. And we are in a world, as you said, with artificial intelligence and a lot of social media and TV and violence. And so, I'm concerned what that's like for children because I know what it was like for me growing up. But we're in a totally different world than when you and I were growing up. But it turns out not only do I feel this way, but a lot of parents feel this way, that they're concerned for the mental health of their children. Almost half of all parents feel that the top concern in our country regarding our kids is internet, social media, privacy, and safety. And 36% of parents are concerned about just what you were talking about, the lies and the mistruths that are coming across TV, social media, our cell phones. And 83% of all parents feel that children's mental health is getting worse, especially when we look at the rates of anxiety and depression in teenage girls. And 69% are seeing that exercise and physical activity are going down, which typically we think of as great ways to modulate our stress in our bodies. And, looking around over the last year, how much stress this world has been under, all the conflicts going on, not only outside our country, but also inside our country, all the unrest, the protests, the violence, bringing terror and brutality and gun violence to our communities. It's terrifying for me. I watch the news because I like to stay up on the news, but I would say so often recently is heartbreaking to watch the news. I've actually been in tears, and this has never happened to me watching the news before. So I'm thinking to myself, if I feel this way, how do young children feel? And so it's important that we think about what we're exposing our kids and if there's boundaries within our families as to what we allow our children to be exposed to. And just as an example, poor 5 year old Liam Ramos, who came here from Ecuador with his family. They were seeking asylum. They came in legally, but then they were picked up by the federal government, brought to a detention center in Dilley, Texas. And Liam, was very depressed. His father reported he was sleeping a lot. He felt sick. He was not eating. And thank God for the public pressure, but it allowed him and his dad to be released back to his town outside of Minneapolis. And, one of his biggest concerns is, did his friends at school, his preschool, forget about him? And the kids at school were so happy when he finally came back to preschool, and they said that they missed him. And his teacher said that she missed him. And, the principal of the school said she missed him. So this, helped him to feel better. And I'm sure they were really important words for this young child to hear. But, so the question becomes, how do we help our children feel safe, secure, and loved during these unprecedented times? And as we, we're just discussing this whole fire horse energy, we're going to see a lot more conflicts, destruction, changes in power in the entire world on a local as well as a global scale, as well as a lot of changes in the weather, fires, floods, droughts, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, but not to leave people feeling discouraged. This is also a year, because of this intense energy, when we have the opportunity to achieve what we would love, the goals that we would love to bring into our life. So I encourage everyone here to actually set aside some time. You probably can't do it today, but maybe this weekend or within the next couple of weeks, to decide what it is you would love in your life for yourself, for your relationship with your partner or your husband or your wife, or and then, what you would love for your family life together and for your children.
Yeah, I want to jump in at something because I think we
Yep.
have a pivotal point right now. I
Yes.
think we have an opportunity. I have been talking about this here and there over the past several days. I am calling to action all of you out there that are participating in the hate towards Ilya Malinin. And what I'm saying to all of you is, you cannot do what Orly is saying that to do if you're not modeling it. And I really call on the leadership, because while they're forcing this young skater to take responsibility for not being able to handle the Olympics, where are the parent figures? Where were the leader figures? Where were the psychologists that could have helped him when they saw the signs? And this is a young man. And so, what I want to say is, in order for you to literally act out orally what you're asking parents to do,
Mm-hmm.
don't we need as a collective to model it? What
Right.
if all of us were to step in, perhaps as a collective family, for this young man? Because no one should take that level of hate,
Right.
because hate leads to violence. Violence leads to the atrocities. And the only way we're going to change that if we start with ourselves.
Right. And you know what? We don't have control over what's happening in our world, but we do have control over our responses. And it's unfortunate that some people are responding in that way. But as parents, yes, our children are watching us all the time. They're going to watch what we do and take lessons from what we do more than what we say. So it's really important that we take an inventory of how we are responding, how we are acting. Even if inside you want to say something different, when you're with your children, especially when they're young, they're learning what is normal in the world. And we want to give them good role modeling of what is acceptable. And um, when I look at the violence and things that are happening, it's so hard. But the other thing is, what are we allowing our children?
Exactly.
And I was listening to the radio, the news on Friday, and the newscaster was reporting that there was this new movie out, and it might be fun if you take your kids to this new movie. Well, it turned out it was a horror movie. And I thought, with all the conflicts and chaos and violence in our country, never mind what's happening around the world, why would you want to take your children to a horror movie? And I thought, what is that telling our kids about how we think and what our values are to go to a horror movie on Valentine's Day, right? So I think, and the other thing is hopefully we're teaching our children that their life is meant to be happy and joyful and fun. So is there something fun that they could do on the weekend other than go to a horror movie? Because I can remember growing up, Sunday evenings, one of my favorite evenings in the whole week. My family and I would get together, my two sisters and my parents and I, and we would watch the wide world of Disney. And I loved it. You'd have the princess and the prince, and it was fun to dream about what it would be like to be a princess. And then during the week, we had Flipper and we had Lassie, and I had these really sweet, wholesome, you know, um, shows to watch with a theme and a resolution. And I thought, since 9/11, it seems that so much of what's on TV and in the movie theater is about violence and guns and the underworld and a dark world, So how is that leaving our children feel? And is that what we want to be showing them? Or is there a different style and different values in our life that we want to bring to them? So
But you
with,
have to really hit it. You have to hit the pause button here for a minute on that
yeah,
because this didn't happen overnight. There began a normalization,
yep,
and I'm going to call it action, for lack of a better word. And
yep,
there's been a normalization of sci-fi movies. There's been this normalization. There have always been sci-fi horror movies since,
hmm,
gosh, when film first came out. There's always been that. So what's happening is not just about having the availability. It's we have created a dopamine level.
yes,
We have created a level of normalization where watching a certain channel that is about love and compassion
yep,
doesn't do it. And it's not just about the movies. The entire world of AI and video games has raised the bar. So here we are raising generations without supervision,
yep,
with cells, with tablets, with games that
yep,
normalizes the impact of violence. Do you see what I mean?
right,
And
yeah,
so here we are in a world where if you're a parent, you are caught between a rock and a hard place right now.
yeah,
And you got to work harder
yep. We
at
have to work
not
harder.
being, you got to work harder at not being under the rock. See, that's what you're saying to parents. You got to work harder at trying to give your children alternative things that are interesting to them. You know, look, I I did something the other day and I wish I didn't. I love the actor Jason Momoa and I love Bautista. I love those two actors. They're really good. I mean, Aquaman, who doesn't love them? But their new movie should not be watched by kids.
Yep.
And it's available for everyone.
Yeah.
And I say that because it posed itself as a comedy. And here I'm watching it, hoping it'll get better. And Linda says to me, is every word in the movie going to be F? What are you watching? Why are you watching that?
Right.
Because I grew up in a normalized world, but I had hope that these two actors were going to turn it around.
Right.
You see, if I had a parent and I had a strict parent, I would not be watching that movie. I will tell you, my mama, that would not happen. But what you're talking about is we have to be the anchor of peace and calming energy.
Right. Yeah.
And this
And
is
we
a
have to
call to
decide
parents.
what our normal is, what our boundaries are for what we expose our children to in terms of, the TV, the internet,
Oh,
their iPhones, when we're going to allow them to have a phone. And, it's these, they're simple, but these are hard, just like you were saying. It's not easy to
no.
institute some of these things because they see what other kids have at school. But if we're going to build a family with reasonable habits, we need to think about and we need to decide for ourselves, our relationship with our spouse, and our relationship with our children. What do we want to build in this family? And so it may be limiting screen time. It may be limiting the amount of time that they spend with phones, or what age are they going to get a cell phone? You know, I had given my daughter a computer when she was 5 because I figured, if she learns it now, it'll be her first language, or it's my second language. Some parents today are limiting a cell phone to when their children are 14, and that actually might be a good idea. A lot of schools are limiting cell phones in school now, too. And another thing to keep in mind is maybe we want to introduce and role model some stress management practices like yoga. And we could do yoga ourselves. We could do yoga with our children, because if we build in some of these stress management practices when they're young, that helps to develop their brains better. So it's more wired to allowing calm under periods of stress, so that then when they get to be teenagers or they're out in the world independently, when they do come under stress, they're more likely to handle it more easily. Whereas if they don't practice any of these things like mindfulness,
Yeah.
meditation, yoga, qigong, prayer, feeling grateful, at the end of the day, then when they do come under stress, yeah, they're probably going to get anxious and they're going to feel depressed. So let's try to build in some of those good stress management uh, techniques so that they do have a stronger, more resilient brain. And the third thing is to get our kids involved in things that will help modulate the stress that they have. Things like sports or physical activity, whether, and finding out what they would like to do. Do they like soccer? Do they like basketball? Do they like swimming? Um, and so they can choose the things that they enjoy doing, or maybe they're creative and they
Hmm.
love to play the piano, and that's what helps calm them. And, or they love to paint and they love to draw. So it's getting them involved in what they would love. And then in terms of some of those positive emotional connections that we have with our children, we can think of it as 3 8-minute connections with our kids each day. And just like we have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we have 3 positive emotional connections with them. We can use breakfast as a time when we put those cell phones aside, and because it's so easy to have it right there with you at the table, right? But no, with your kids, put it aside so they see you're not using it and you're actually giving them your attention, and you're interested in hearing what their day is going to be like, or who, what was their favorite thing that they did with their friends recently, or what after school is going to be like. So how can we plan ahead of time how we're going to get them
Yeah.
to their soccer practice?
Yeah.
And
I
then
love your
midday,
sharing this. I have to tell you, I love that you're sharing these.
oh,
I
good.
really do love that you're doing this because you know what you just sounded like?
What?
How easy this is.
Yeah,
So, what's the key in what you said? And I would love for you to finish. The key is as a parent or a guardian or whoever you are,
yep,
you have to take some accountability and responsibility. Orally, this last thing I'm going to say about the skater. My coach in my sport does not allow cell phones ever at a tournament.
wow, wow.
How in the world did they let this young 23-year-old plug in to social media in the middle of a gold medal competition? So we have to really look at what we're doing to our children and what we're afraid of. See, why wouldn't parents do what you're saying? And so let's talk about the takeaways because parents can't be afraid to do this.
Yeah, well, I think part of it is that our world is changing so fast that we're having a hard time keeping up with it, right? Because we grew up under certain, social conditions, but now we have a whole other set of social conditions we're dealing with. So it's taking a step back, taking a pause, thinking about, all right, so what is going on, and how do I want to help my children to experience this family? And, as I said, putting the cell phones aside, paying attention, talking to your kids, having a positive emotional interaction with them so they know that they are listened to, they are cherished, they are loved. Even say to them, I am so, maybe they tell you something that was really good that they accomplished at school. And maybe they got a B on their paper and they got a C with the last paper. And you say, you know what? I am so proud of you. That means a lot to a child, you know, and or just tell them how much you love them, you know, so they hear it and you have this conversation together. Or in the middle of the day maybe you talk about how their day at school went, or then when they're going to sleep at night thinking about what you can do to review the day. Maybe when they're young, read them a story, and or if they're really young, have snuggle time together before they go to sleep. Those things they're going to remember. It's going to like really touch their heart and
Yeah.
help them to feel cherished. Then when they are in middle school, you're doing more teaching and helping to direct them towards what responsibilities they have and things that are, they can think about at school. And then in high school and college, maybe you're doing more guidance and coaching because now they're becoming more independent.
Mm.
But along the way, you're staying engaged with them and what's important to them and letting them know how much you appreciate them and love them. So you maintain that positive connection.
There's so many things we could do. Look, I love what you're sharing, and I am struck by how simple it is.
Simple,
And
but not easy.
that's it, because as a parents, you're in this dynamic. You know, look, there's so many things that people can do, but you're passionate about this. This is your
Right,
work. You
right.
know, I had a friend tell me that she got her son to eat salad. And
Wow,
I was
that's
shocked. I
impressive.
was like, what? I said, what'd you do? She said, I had him take the salad parts, the tomato, that whatever
Yep,
she put, and she put a ton of junk in there, honestly, stuff, good stuff,
yep.
vegetables, and draw a picture of the best thing that happened to him at day school
Wow.
on his
So it got
plate.
connected to something that he
So he
enjoyed.
took it out of the bowl and
Yep.
he put the lettuce and then she said, which part of your day would you eat first? I mean, who does that? I mean, she's brilliant in that way,
Yeah.
right?
Good for
But
her.
what you're talking about, and Orly, I want to make sure people know how to get a hold of you. This is a small piece of the coaching work you do, and I want to
Right.
really make a plea for people out there right now. If you're a parent and you're listening to this, we don't expect you to be able to do this alone. That's why
Right.
Orly does what you do, what she does.
Everyone needs support.
How do people get in touch with you?
Okay, they can go to my website, Intentional Wellness Parenting, and it's at the website is actually oralycormier.com, but you'll see Intentional Wellness Parenting, or that's the easiest way to figure out how to get to my website. And I'm actually doing two really exciting workshops that I hope one of them anyone can go to. It is a 2-day free master class for people who want to envision the life that they would love. And because we're in this fire horse energy, it's the perfect time to do it. It's going to be March 18th and 19th. It's 7 to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's on Zoom, so from the comfort of your own house, and you get to think about what you would love to create for yourself over the next year. The other one is for couples that are thinking about getting pregnant within the next 2 years or are pregnant now and want to have good health for themselves, but more importantly, good health for their baby. Because you know what? We
Yeah.
just never know what the future holds for ourselves or our children. So when we can be really healthy in pregnancy, and that is the mother as well as the father, we give our children a better chance of having a longer, healthier life. So this is what this workshop is all about. It starts March 26th, a Thursday, from 7 to 8:30 p.m. on Zoom from the comfort of your own home, and it finishes on April 30th. So it's a 6-week program. The cost is per couple. So the husband and wife, the wife and the mother and the father, or a single person and her best support person. And it's for the entire 6 weeks. So when you see the price, it's actually the entire 6 weeks for the couple.
Yeah.
So
Thank you
I
so
would
much.
love to have you go,
Yeah.
and great way to prevent, any uh, the best way to have really healthy kids,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because you don't know what you don't know. And this is a
that's,
safe place
yeah,
to learn. Thank you,
right.
Orly, for everything. And for those of you out there, you heard a lot today. And I'm telling you, please contact Orly. Neither one of us expect you to know what to do. I am a little bit more expecting more of our parents and our leaders in the world.
You've been listening to the Intentional Wellness Parenting Show with Dr. Pat, where we set an intention to create healing and wellness every living day. Tune into Transformation Talk Radio every third Tuesday of each month at 11:30 a.m. Pacific and 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time for more guidance and support. Beyond this, I offer workshops to focus on your good health while reducing risk of disease, especially cancer, so you can do more of what you love and spend less time being sick. What I know for sure is that this is especially beneficial for couples who are pregnant, have young children, or teens, as you will give yourself and kids the greatest chance of living a longer, healthier life. So please join us at the Intentional Wellness Parenting Show. For more information, visit oralycormier.com.